Hey guys, Sausage here. I want to make a video about this video here. It's called I Miss When WoW Was Just a Game. You may have seen this video online, but if you haven't, as the title says, they miss when it was just a game. I wanted to make a video similar to this, maybe 6 months down the road after I've got some more indie games under my belt as for, videos on the channel. I've played plenty of them, but I wanted to upload more before I made a video about this. I saw this when it came out like 5 days ago. Probably be about a week after I get this uploaded. But I wanted to make a video about this, but I figured 6 months down the road it might be irrelevant. Since I've got some free time, I might as well make a video about it now. I have felt this way about both World of Warcraft, which I haven't played in I don't know how long, as well as other games as well. I remember watching it and thinking to myself, yeah, I feel that same way. I feel that same way. And so I wanted to make a video, um, you know, saying something similar. If I figured I might as well just piggyback off of this video. If you haven't seen this creator before, go check him out. Let's get started.
I miss when World of Warcraft was just a game to me. In fact, I missed when most games were just games. I was reminded of this last night while playing Quest 64, an old Nintendo 64 game. There's barely
I
any
never played
direction,
that
there's
game.
no objectives,
Never
and
had it.
there's a ton of rooms and corridors and hallways that just lead nowhere. It annoyed me at first. I would say stuff like, why would the developers put that there?
I
It
think I
has
would
no
like that
purpose. Or
game
I'd say
if I
something like,
played it
that's bad game
as a
design.
child.
But then I did some reflection. There was a day before good game design, when games weren't designed to keep you engaged or keep your dopamine levels high or give you constant breadcrumb rewards.
Oh,
There was a
yes.
day when they were just games, to play without purpose just for fun.
That is what, 43 seconds into the video, and this immediately hooked me because I remember doing the same thing. You know, I used to play games just to play them. I didn't log in wanting to do work. And that's exactly what he's saying. Now, some people have said in other videos that I've watched that some games in the past were developed for that dopamine reason. One of those being like a Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet that it was developed with, your opponent having aim assist. I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but if those enemies, if your opponent did have aim assist and you defeated them, it boosted your dopamine, which made you want to play more, which made you put in more money. That may or may not be the case. But as for a game like WoW, when I started that game when I was 14. I remember being 17, maybe 17. I don't know the exact age, but I do remember playing the game. I'm like, there's so much to do. I don't care. Like, I just logged in to run around. And I did that with a lot of other games. And small children, they do the same thing with other games like Mario, right? They don't know to do like a triple jump and then stomp this Goomba and then do a backflip. And they don't know that. They just run around. They're having fun. And I remember doing the same sort of thing with games like World of Warcraft and even other games.
Almost like playing pretend when you were a kid. So why did the developers put that empty hallway there? Well, because someone may just want to explore around for fun. How about that?
Explore around for fun. I do that with every game. It doesn't matter if it's an MMO. It doesn't matter if it's single player. It doesn't matter if it's a racing game or an RPG. It doesn't matter if I get to go slow, fast, if I'm playing by myself with other people. Developers put things into games for a reason. And, sometimes it might just be because they need to have a skybox. Other times it might be, they just need the world to feel lived in. Other times they're hiding Easter eggs. Other times they're hiding secrets. With Destiny 2, for example, they hide the Easter eggs. They hide the secret chests. They hide, the lore cards and everything Some of those are very easy to find and you just turn a quest in and you get a lore card. Other times you have to go into the world, into like the farthest corner of the map to find a single lore card, which I don't read all of those because there's a lot of lore cards and I don't have that sort of time. But I like to do that sort of thing. I like to look at every single nook and cranny and think, why is this here? Why?
Playing a game for the fun of it. I used to feel the same way about World of Warcraft. Nowadays, I care about item levels, I care about rating, I care about new content and the best talent builds and the top classes and the top specs and the
Yep.
next patch and the buffs and the nerfs. And
Same thing with Destiny 2. You know, when I first started playing Destiny 2, I didn't know what I was doing. And you could argue that I still don't know what I'm doing. If you're one of my clanmates and you're watching this and we just ran Pantheon and you're laughing about how I didn't have Parasite for Atrax, I think I pronounced that correctly. Point is, there was a time when I didn't know what I was doing. Therefore, I just enjoyed playing the game just to play it. And I think that plays a big part in this, in that the more knowledgeable and more experienced you become, it's almost like a burden of knowledge, right? You don't know what's going on, so you are just having the time of your life running around experiencing things. And then eventually, once you really like get a grasp of what the game is and what it's like, you are forced to care about all these little minor things. And if you don't, you're not going to enjoy the game anymore. Which, this isn't to go against what this person is saying. It's just that I think that this is a natural thing for many games, especially for MMOs.
even Blizzard seems to have adapted to this style of thinking, making every new zone and raid high octane and high priority in the storyline. There's no time anymore to just relax and play, but it wasn't always like this. When I first started playing World of Warcraft in 2006, I was a
I
dwarf warrior and I
started
had no clue what I was doing. But I did know one thing.
2005?
I loved being
Doesn't
engrossed
matter.
in the world. I would go into every building in Ironforge just to look around and think how cool it might be to just hang out here with friends and talk.
I did that exact same thing with every single major city in World of Warcraft. And I think I started off doing this in Ironforge. Maybe Stormwind, doesn't matter. But I remember, being some teenager, and I may have been level capped, doesn't really matter, but I remember running around to all these different I ran inside every single building to see what was there. Sometimes this is a tailor, sometimes this person is selling fish. Why are they selling fish in this building, in this corner of the room, in this corner of the city? Other times there's nothing in there and it's just vacant. And it kind of made me think, why is this here? It's empty. They're not utilizing this. Or if they are utilizing it, such as with, someone selling fish, why are they selling fish here? Like, I can get food elsewhere. It will either drop from, from an enemy, or I can loot it somewhere, or, you know, um, I'm just now looking at my screen. I'm having difficulties with my green screen right now. So if you see some fuzz, I apologize. I'm working on it. But it's like, why is this here? You're trying to make it feel lived in, but you know, this vendor here is pointless. But I do remember trying to find, houses or places that are lived in, and think, oh, this is just copy and paste from this one. This is a cookie cutter from this one. But occasionally you would find like some of these buildings, houses, inns, whatever they are, that are a little bit different from other ones. And I would run into these and think, oh, this has a left turn instead of a right turn. And for whatever reason, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I do remember, uh, you know, one of The friend I had back in high school who I played this with, I remember him and I were bored one day and we ran around doing this exact same thing. And we kind of thought like, what if we could buy houses in World of Warcraft? I would want to buy this house. I would want to buy that house. Or even just, we would just, go find one of these houses to sit in. And it's like, you just sit there and hang out. I did this exact same thing.
Not questing, not leveling, not gearing, just hanging out in a cool, secluded place in Ironforge talking about life. Same thing for this random building in Orgrimmar.
I
I
didn't
barely
really do
made
it
it
with
to level
Orgrimmar.
20 on that first character, but I probably explored most of the entire world map, and I can still remember the awe I felt when I
Yep.
accidentally stumbled into the burning steps by walking through the broken gate in the north of Redridge Mountains, and suddenly I arrived in Fire and Brimstone.
Yeah, same thing. My first character was a human. I was Alliance. I didn't know anything about World of Warcraft back then, and so I just, being 14, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be a human. And I felt the same thing when I went from Elwyn Forest to Westfall, or even from Westfall to Redridge Mountains, and then from Redridge Mountains to Darkshire. I think that's what it was. My friend was a night elf, and I remember saying like, "Hey, like, so this is the human city. What about the night elf city?" And he's like, "I can take you, but like, you're level, 20, and these guys are level 40. They will eat you alive." I was like, "Well, I mean, if you want to run me there, I'll go." And being, level 20 in vanilla WoW, or even maybe as BC, doesn't matter. I didn't have a mount. It took, we went from Stormwind to Ironforge. Was it Ironforge? Ironforge to through the wetlands, right? I think that's, you went through the wetlands to what is it? There was that the harbor that got blown up. It's been quite a while since I've played World of Warcraft. If you can't tell, I quit during Battle for Azeroth. At that point, I just didn't care anymore. But then there was the boat that took you from from the wetlands to Darkshore, I believe, or maybe it was some. You went somewhere in Kalimdor, and then eventually, you went up to Darnassus. And I remember every time you went into a new zone, you're like, holy cow, look at this place. This is so different. What's here? What kind of monsters? What kind of NPCs? I remember doing this exact same thing.
Seeing the blackened, smoky sky and the lava pouring from the mountains was amazing, and seeing the creatures and dragons that roamed the
Oh,
land
yeah.
made me excited to eventually come back and quest here, which I never did.
Nope.
Oops. But I do still remember that feeling, the
Yep.
wonder and the awe at every zone and every turn.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm so familiar with every zone that I gotta admit I'm pretty killer at WoW GeoGuessr.
I kind of want to play that game, WoW GeoGuessr, even though I haven't played since Battle for Azeroth. To anyone who hasn't played World of Warcraft, when achievements came out, there was an achievement where you had to explore every single part of Azeroth, which, was a little more challenging than you would think, especially before flying mounts. Azeroth is quite a big world, even before the DLCs and the expansions. And even with flying, it only made it so much easier, like marginally. But you know, that was one of the things you would go to a corner of the map that was so far away from anything that you had played, previously. If you were a human and you start off in Elwyn Forest and then you end up in Syphilis, of course that's end game content, and you're level 60 at that point. Nothing can really hurt you except for other, level 60 stuff. But, you're so far away from the human capital. There's just so much to explore literally around every corner.
So that begs the question, is this just a nostalgia thing? And I don't think so.
I do think it's partially nostalgia because I downloaded, I think it was WoW Ascension. It's not it's not made by Blizzard. It's a fan made project where you can make your own class essentially. I'm not. This isn't like a an ad for this game, but I did end up downloading WoW. I believe it was called Ascension because I thought this is a cool idea. It's not owned by Blizzard because Blizzard, Activision, whatever. They're terrible, and I don't feel like giving them money. And this was a free project aside from DLCs and cosmetics you can buy. And I remember at first when I played it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It's hitting all the nostalgia buttons. And then eventually it started to fade. It felt like work again because I knew what was going on. I knew where things were and I knew how to play the game. It's been a very long time, but I still had the basics and I knew a lot of the stuff like on Goro Crater where there's a T-Rex. First time playing, you come to this jungle in the middle of the desert that's in a crater. Pretty cool. You find out there's a dinosaur down there, even cooler. But I know it's there, and it doesn't hold the same weight.
As Classic WoW and Season of Discovery in particular still have their moments of invoking wonder in me more so than modern WoW. And I think what it comes down to is the idea of a game being just that, a game.
Yes. And so even though the nostalgia factor is there and it doesn't feel the same because I know what's going on, at least back then it was just a game. And I feel like you can apply that to a lot of different games. Eventually it stops becoming about exploration and discovery and it becomes you have to have this exact specific build. Otherwise, you're just not good at the game. You might be good at the game, but people might tell you, oh, you don't have this one perk, get out. And it's like, it's just a game. I'm trying to run Pantheon with my clan right now. And, I'm decent at the game. I'll say that I'm decent. I'm no pro by any means. I'll never claim to be, god tier, but I'm decent. And if Pantheon gets to the point where you have to be cream of the crop and I don't cut it, oh well. I want that God Slayer title, but I'm not going to spend 14 hours of my day in a raid. I don't know if it'll get to that point, and I'm kind of, getting sidetracked. But my point is, a game is a game. It's supposed to be fun. And if you have fun, you know, doing all these things, then by all means, who am I to tell you? I'm not going to yuck your yum. But for a lot of people, they play games just to play games. And a lot of games, World of Warcraft, Destiny, maybe even Call of Duty. I'm not a COD player. Maybe Fortnite as well. I don't know. I don't play that either. But a lot of the games, they'll hook you, and if you want to continue enjoying the game, you have to treat it like a job. But then if you stop playing, you start, getting a little itchy around the collar, thinking, oh man, I want to play this game. I want to play this game. Games shouldn't be like that. Games should be fun. And a lot of the games now, they are still fun. That's why I play them. But a lot of the games, they lose that game factor, in my opinion.
The process of not needing to follow an ideology of good game design, or retention practices, or meaningful progression systems, or balance. In the many empty buildings in each capital city, I feel the echoes of players and guilds that came before and probably hung out within their walls chatting in game rather than using something like Discord to do voice chat.
So that I don't necessarily agree with that. partially because I don't know a single game that has in-game chat that is actually good, unless it's like a text, right? You can whisper people, you can have a guild chat, clan chat, whatever kind of chat it is, right? Group chats. But as for microphones, voice chats, in-game voice chats have never ever been good in my opinion. On the games that I have played, they've never been good. That's why, there are things such as Discord. Now this person is saying, they mentioned Discord and they also mentioned 2006. Discord wasn't around in 2006, and if it was nothing like it is today. That's over what? Over 14 years ago, right? There was Ventrilo back then. I might be dating myself in saying that, and there might be some 14-year-old kids. They don't floss anymore. Whatever dance 14-year-old kids do, they might be sitting at their desk, busting it down, thinking, "What is this boomer talking about? What is Ventrilo?" Ventrilo was Discord before Discord, essentially. You had to pay for it. Not everybody, but if you wanted to host a server, you had to pay for it, and then for every chat room inside your server, you had to pay for more. I think you could also get like a radio station in there, but again, you have to pay for more. But the point is, voice chats in game have never been good. There's always been something such as Discord or Ventrilo or what have you, Zoom maybe. I don't know.
And even beyond the capital cities, there are empty vistas in areas of the game that some may consider useless or poorly designed that were really just there to add flavor for those who wanted it. And
Yes. And I think that he mentions it later in the video, but the airport near Ironforge, before flying mounts, that was just there you know, for fun. That's it.
even endgame raids in classic WoW like Molten Core didn't feel as immediately pressing to complete as soon as you could. I mean, there wasn't always a world-ending catastrophe just on the other side if you didn't hurry up and progress through the raid.
Yes. Though I slightly disagree, and the reason for it is because during Vanilla WoW, they didn't know where they were going with it yet. I don't remember exactly the order of like seasonal patches. I don't even know if it was seasonal, but I don't remember the order that these things came out. There was um, Molten Core that was inside what, Deep Rock Depths, Black Rock Depths. I I never got around to doing Molten Core. I may have done it later, soloed it when I was level 80 and I could just one shot Ragnaros. But they had this. Then they had Naxxramas, which was all about the Lich King and undead and spiders and stuff. Very very different from this. If you've never played World of Warcraft, you can assume, oh, this guy's a fiery thing, and now you've got zombies. That doesn't make sense. They also had, what was the one with oh man, what was that dragon called? I want to say Nefarious, but I don't think that's right. Again, I didn't raid back then. By the time I could get to raiding, Burning Crusade was coming out. So the stuff was obsolete and people weren't doing it anymore. But the point is, back with Vanilla WoW, they didn't really have a direction. This was one of the pioneers of MMOs. You had stuff like RuneScape and maybe one or two other things, but this was Goliath. This was a giant. World of Warcraft came out, and sure, people still play those other games, but these guys were pioneers, and they were blazing the trail essentially, not knowing where to go, what to do. But it was fun, so of course people played it. But my point is that after this came Burning Crusade, and that was kind of world ending, right? They had the Dark Portal, and demons were coming through. Pretty big deal. After that, it was Wrath of the Lich King, and the Lich King was sending his undead armies to go conquer the world. Pretty big. Then you had Cataclysm. One of the Black Dragonflight. I believe that's what Deathwing was. I don't remember Deathwing's official name. That was more of a nickname that was given to him after he was corrupted. I used to know the lore. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But after that, Blizzard realized we've had a lot of world-ending catastrophes and threats coming our way. People are probably getting burnt out on you know, all these world-ending activities. Let's take a step back and make it a little more peaceful. And then they came out with Mists of Pandaria, which, at the time, and even for Cataclysm at the time, people didn't like those. In hindsight, people probably do like them now. But when Mists of Pandaria came out, there was no big threat. The premise of this expansion was go discover this new land. That's it. Which you would do that with with Burning Crusade and with Wrath of the Lich King, but there was no threat. It was just go explore, go discover. And to me, that was what hooked me. I didn't care about the pandas, but the idea of there's no big bad guy. When I heard that mindset, it clicked for me and I thought that's a really good idea. I like that idea. But now with any other game that you play, there's always a threat. There's always something big coming next. And they advertise it just a couple months after their newest expansion. And it gets to the point where it's a little exhausting. Like, I just want to play the game. This raid just came out, and you're already advertising for your next game. Which, there's another video I watched. I'm going to continue in a second. But, somebody else mentioned how games today, are such big projects and such money sinks that unless your game, is guaranteed to make, I don't know, a minimum of $1 million, it's considered a failure. Which, just goes to show that, they're trying to, grab your attention. Hey, there's this new big threat. You better come back. You better play it. You better help your friends. I'm tired. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just raided, and now you're telling me I have to work on another raid, and now there's a master raid? No, man, just let me play the game.
In modern WoW, there is a greater emphasis on the critical path and on progression for the sake of story, and in a sense, I get it. You have to keep the players engaged, you have to keep the stakeholders happy, and you need to constantly have high stakes.
Of course.
Unfortunately, Blizzard already crossed the border of highest stakes of all time with the Shadowlands expansion and the universe-ending Jailer. I mean, how can you create another engaging story without putting the universe at stake again?
Yes, I didn't play Shadowlands. I don't know who the jailer is. I have a couple ideas, but I might be wrong. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to play it anyway. Um, and as far as I know, the bigger threat was when Sargeras, and this was Battle for Azeroth, I believe, when he stabbed his sword into Azeroth. This is a Titan. Like, Sargeras is supposed to be like, that's it. There is nothing. This is top dog right there. How do you top that? And I've heard that this same issue arises with Marvel movies, and I kind of agree. Where Thanos, that was, as for the MCU anyway, that's top dog. But then you're gonna have Spider-Man come back and face off with, I don't pick a guy, Rhino, I guess, right? Thanos, Rhino. It's still an enjoyable movie, so I don't think it really, compares. Not too well, but it's the same sort of thing where it's like, how how do you top that? And if you don't top that, what do you do? You went from saving the universe to here's an expansion where this person robbed a bakery. Go figure it out. It doesn't work. It, it doesn't.
But that's just the point for me. I don't want another universe ending, world ending, or even continent ending storyline.
No, me neither. But Again, how do you go from universe-ending threat to, you know, this person robbed a bakery? How do you go from that? There's plenty of fantastic stories down here, but how do you get there?
I want a lived in world with smaller, more meaningful bite sized stories that are fun to explore. I don't want a fresh new continent where it feels like nobody's ever been there before. I want to feel as if I'm part of the world again, not the champion of Azeroth.
So, okay, you can't go from champion of Azeroth to explorer, right? Especially in a game that's got lore and continuity and all that. You can't do that unless you hit him with a I forgot spell or something, right? And even then, that's stupid. I don't know how you accomplish that. I do like new areas, and of course, I like these smaller stories, and that's why I like indie games. I thought about making a list before I made this video of some of the indie games that I really enjoy and things that I want to play. I'm not going to go over all of them, but one of them, which I do want to make a few videos about, a few months down the line, is a game called Cloudpunk. I'm sorry, Cloudpunk, and you're just a delivery driver in a cyberpunk setting. That's it. Um, and eventually, the stakes do build a little bit, but it's not universe ending. And you come across so many characters. There's all these like little side stories. Like one of them is a guy who I think he's an android, and his brain got kind of wiped a little bit, and he was looking for his friend, but he doesn't remember his friend's name or the city that they're in. He doesn't remember any details except I have this friend and I need to find my friend. And it's like, I don't know how to help you, buddy. But you do end up helping him. Another one is, this guy has a car that was given a faulty part, I think. I might be wrong. And so you are tasked with delivering this new part to this guy who's, races his car. And then you're given, you have the exchanged part. You can either take it back and do the right thing, or you can just go sell it for money. And these are two completely different stories that are, under the umbrella of the entire game, which has its own story. I like stuff like that. I don't have to worry about having the best perks and the best mods and the best stats. It's just, hey, help this guy find his friend who he can't even remember. It's fun.
I want to walk around and explore the corners of each zone and building, not for a reward or a secret, but for the fun of it. But the
Yep.
gaming landscape has changed. We don't need to talk using in game chat anymore. Discord has a great interface, a bunch of communities, and it's easier than ever to voice chat with your friends. Back in the day, having a TeamSpeak or Vent server was a big deal, and having
Okay, Ventrilo. But the reason I stopped it there is because, I mean, yeah, you can talk to people about all these things that you're exploring and discovering, but ultimately, I'm not doing it for them. And they might not even care. If people are talking to me, hey, I just found this thing. Hey, I just turned this corner and there's this enemy here. I'm not there to discover it myself, so I kind of don't care. If I do care, I'm going to listen. I'm going to say, hey, like, I'm curious about, what you're playing right now and what you're experiencing. But for the most part, I don't care. And if I do care, I'm going to go do it myself. So the talking part about Discord and Vent, I don't think that really holds up. But, like he said, like how the whole video says, I'm not here to prevent the next, universe ending threat. I just want to explore.
good enough internet to run that at the same time as playing World of Warcraft was an even bigger deal. Stereotypically, nowadays, gamers are painted as these nitro fueled, energy drink chugging, RGB lighting enthralled adult children.
Is Nitro an energy drink? If so, I clearly haven't drank it because I don't know what that is. Or maybe that's just a phrase he's using. Energy drink chugger. It's been a minute since I've had it. Pre-workout was one thing, but I have not drank an energy drink in a minute. Um, my keyboard and my mouse and my PC are lighting up right now, so okay. An adult child, come on, man.
And to pander to that
Come on.
stereotype, we need flashy games that pack a punch and better pack one quick before your captive audience chooses one of a million other games promising the same thing. But
Power
there's another
World,
catch. They're all promising the same
Helldivers,
thing. How awesome would it be to finally have a
Fortnite.
World of Warcraft expansion or experience with a slower pace, a chiller vibe, and some good old fun exploration? And no, I'm not talking
Yes,
about the
I
cozy game.
I I don't do it now because there's so much lore and so much to read and so much to do, which is kind of the point that he's making. But I used to read all of those things, and I kind of still do the same thing in Destiny 2 right now. I've kind of cut back on that because again, there's so much to read, so much to do, but also because if I'm with other people, a lot of them, they just click, 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 click straight through and they don't read. And then they're like, sausage, why are you sitting here for 30 minutes? Well, because I'm reading this thing, man.
Genre, which, side note, it's probably growing fast because more people are wanting that type of vibe.
Yes. So, what do you call it? Casual, not casual. Um, relaxing. I don't want to rewind. I can, but the point of these games is that you don't have to do anything. There are mechanics and there is a point to playing, such as farming simulators. But if you don't harvest your soybeans, the world isn't going to explode, right? That might be an interesting game. I don't see why someone won't make a game like that in like an indie setting. But the point is, like he said, these other games where it's just farming sims, or you run a little town like Animal Crossing, for example. The reason those games are big are because people are getting burnt out on a game that's treated like a job, where you can't just sit back, relax, and have fun. If you don't log in, and FOMO is a big thing, not just for like a weekly thing, but even if you were to take off 3 months because you can't play, well, sorry, you can't get that stuff back. We're already moved on. Tough luck. With a game like these, Animal Crossing, for example, you put it down for 2 years and then pick it right back up. You haven't lost anything. You're still right where you left it.
But I don't want WoW to be a farming sim or an idle game. I would want the upcoming WoW expansions to feel like classic WoW and Season of Discovery in their pacing. Slowed down, less high stakes, less flashy lights, less progression systems, with more corners to explore.
But the issue that arises with this is that we have become so conditioned to leveling up so fast, right? And with expecting more and more and more content. Like the moment we're done, it's like, okay, well, what can I do now? You can make another character, sure, but you're still going to play the same thing again. So, as much as I would like to go back to something like this, you can't do that with, if you already have a game, you can't go back. That that door on Pandora's box has already been opened. You can't close it again. It just doesn't work. I think the only way to really do that is to make a new game, which eventually will be flooded with stakeholders who want money, with other gamers who do want to min max things. I don't think that it's possible to go back to games like vanilla WoW and have that same experience. You could do it with single player games, sure. Or if you were to make an MMO where the point is exploration, but then people might not want to play it anyway. They tried to bring back vanilla WoW, but the people who wanted to play vanilla WoW before it was announced found ways to play vanilla WoW before it was announced. But then once it was announced, people sprinted to the finish line so that they could re-experience, Naxxramas in Vanilla WoW. And then it's like, well, we gotta, you know, these people, we're gonna lose subscribers again because they're gonna get bored and leave. So they came out with Burning Crusade. And then I think, Lich King, and they might be working on Cataclysm Classic. I don't remember. But the point is that people blaze through these. And from what I've heard, because I haven't actually done it, if you were to go back to classic vanilla WoW, people don't play it anymore. Because people say, oh, well, I want this. It was a better game then. It's nostalgia, and you're just going to end up speedrunning it anyway. And the people that don't want to speedrun it are such a small community that they can't play the game anyway because they're on at different times. They're playing different factions. They have different interests. Some of them want to collect things. Other people just they want to raid. I don't think it works. Not unless you just make a completely new game. And even then, I think it's to the point now where people have that dopamine addiction where they don't want to take it slow, or they just can't take it slow.
Whether they're empty or not. I don't have a proposed solution, and I'm not saying by any means I hate World of Warcraft now or that I'm quitting retail. No, none of that. I just wanted to throw my hat and my feelings into the ring, and I'm sure some of you out there would feel the same. I still like to
I
just
do
sit
feel
on
the
the
same.
cliffs of Thunderbluff and look out on Mulgore. I still like to hear the music of Elwyn Forest and Stormwind as I'm strolling through.
I still have um, I have Stormwind music on my Spotify. I have Ironforge, Orgrimmar, Burning Crusade, Wrath. I have all those themes on Spotify. Um, I don't know how to fix it either. I just know that if there is a way to fix it, it's going to be quite difficult, I think, and that there are people out there with the same mindset, myself included. I don't agree with everything that this person has said, but I do miss when games were just games and it wasn't a job. I don't want to have to farm for the best perks or the best mods or stats, what have you. I don't want to have to treat the game as a job so that I can beat the final boss. In fact, I think one of the main reasons why I quit playing a lot of different games is I put in all this time to beat this boss when I could have been doing other things. Why am I doing that to myself? That is time that I have lost and I will never get back. But I do enjoy, exploration and discovery and finding all the little nooks and crannies. And that's why I like to play walking simulators, because I get to walk around and experience it myself. I'm gonna let this
And sometimes,
play
even
out.
as a heroic raider in Dragonflight, I still like to RP walk. And I hope that I'm not alone in saying I miss when games were games and
Yep,
we would play just for fun.
yep.
Thanks for watching and take care.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. This video is almost 45 minutes long now. If you feel the same way, leave a comment. Let me know. I think that there are more of us out there than we might realize. If you just want to play a game and not have to treat it like work, leave a comment below. I want to talk about it. Let's hold a discussion. Let's recommend games to each other that aren't jobs. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the video here. Mahoney out.